What's going on, guys? Sergeant Galaxy back again with another video, and today's discussion is going to be salty misplays, but buttery combos. Now, some of you might be wondering why this is relevant, and for some of you this might be a helpful video. Some of you might not, so it is what it is, but I think it'd be a good discussion to talk about. Um, but to start off, everyone has misplays. If you can think of one play that after the game or after the play was made, like you know for a fact that you made the misplay. You know you just wish you could take it back, but you can't because that's just how the game goes. But then you wonder immediately after, you know the plays that you could have done, but why didn't you do them? And that's where you, depending on how well you know your deck and the potential that it has, you start to think of all the potential combos that your deck can make. You start thinking of all the outs that you've done in the past. You start thinking about kind of like the default plays that your deck can make. And you start to get a little bit of ahead of yourself because you start to think of all these combos, and then one of them kind of takes precedence over the other one that would be the preferable play, and you start just kind of subconsciously defaulting back to one of those combos that you have done in the past that's been really comfortable for you. And once you get into a situation where it kind of takes you out of one of those default combos, then that's where the misplays happen. So the way that I'm gonna start doing that for myself, because I have made some misplays. You'll probably see some when TurkThePally uploads some of his videos today. I had a few misplays within those videos. I was aware of it. You guys will probably bust my balls for it, but there, for example, there was a Scrap Dragon, Stardust, and Armades, I believe. And I had a live Priestess in hand. I had a Fate, and I had a stack graveyard full of spellbooks. Now, mentally, what I was telling myself was simply Fate the Stardust, use Effective Priestess to pop the dragon, the Scrap Dragon, and then potentially power over the Armades or something along those lines, because I don't think I have power, or the option to have power. So just beat over the Armades to essentially eliminate his pull board. But I didn't, because I was thinking of the High Priestess pop over the Fate, which again was a default play of mine that I have used several times in the past, and it kind of it took precedence over the good play, which is the Fate first and then the Priestess effect. I accidentally used the Priestess effect first and simply got negated by Stardust, and I lost the game. That was something that has always been kind of like a default play for myself. So definitely with some of your decks that you want to use, definitely just focus on one threat at a time, because what happens is, like, here's your spectrum, right, of all the plays that you can do. And as opposed to theoretically looking at the entire forest, just focus on the one tree, if that makes sense. So instead of focusing on all the things that you can use to eliminate all the problems, instead of thinking about them all at once, just pick the biggest threat on board and just focus on that first. So for example, if we're going back to my example, the first thing that I would want to get rid of is that Stardust. The Scrap Dragon is just a 2800 beater. The Armades is just a 23, but the Stardust is the 25 with the effect to negate anything destructive. So that's why I would have to focus first on the Stardust and then the other problems, like first the Stardust, then the Scrap Dragon, then the Armades. And what I did wrong was I focused on all of them at once and try to like combo like in my head, and that's where I misplayed. So just make sure that you're focusing on your one problem at a time. And again, if you have like a lot of like searching decks and a lot of combos, mentally go over what play you're going to make first before you actually make it. I know it sounds obvious to a lot of people, but once you start getting ahead in the game and once you start getting a little bit of ahead of yourself, you kind of start beating yourself by searching out the wrong cards and by attacking the wrong target and by activating wrong effects at certain times. Just run through it through your head, make sure it makes sense, and just continue that way. And that kind of goes into just making your plays count mentally before you actually make any commitments on board. For example, if you're thinking about attacking, think about the outcome of the attack before you actually initiate the battle phase. Because, like, say for example, for me, if I were to use like a power to try to beat over something, make sure that that power is going to be used to its fullest ability. So if I wanted to power over something, just make sure that it's the reasonable move and the move that makes the most sense. And then also remembering to get your search off of power, which I forgot to do in a YCS Toronto. In Game 3, last turn in time, forgot to search off power when I beat something over for against Monarchs. Could have searched a Fate, but I was thinking too out of myself because there's 2 monsters for the last of my turns in time that I had to deal with. And again, I was focusing on everything on board as opposed to a particular problem. So hopefully this helped you guys a little bit. I know the more I play this game, I keep learning things. I'm gonna continue to learn the ins and outs of this game mentally, as far as deck construction and all that stuff. So I hope you like the video, guys. If you think it's informative, let me know. If you have your misplays that you just are like so salty about and you just wonder why I made that play, just leave it in the comments below. Spark some conversation. And that's it for me, guys. So see you later, Space Cowboys.